In today's video, I want to share some ways to make a banner for a church or an event. In today's video, I'm going to share some ideas about making a banner. This is an older banner that I used for an event. It is painted on 2 sheets of watercolor paper, and the letters are just cut out, and they're actually stuck on with rubber cement, so I can actually take them off and I can still have the painting. And to make it firm, what I did was I used 2 pieces of foam core, and I applied these rings so that they can be hung. And I thought the foam core would give it a sturdiness, and that way it can fold up and for easier storage. And the foam core is about 1/4 inch thick, so it's firm. Now this is, you can see I had something else glued on here. That's the beauty of using rubber cement, is you can just peel it off and put something else on. I'm going to try another idea. This time I have a long wooden frame that has been constructed, and it's just put together with some screws, and those boards help keep everything square, and that will make a nice surface. This is going to require 3 sheets of watercolor paper, and I'm going to glue the paper together with Mod Podge, and it's my favorite glue because it's sort of an all-purpose, all-surface type of glue, and I always use my cheap dollar store brushes whenever I'm doing glue. And then we staple the paper onto the frame, and that way I will have a very firm, solid surface. So with my brush, I applied about 1.5 inches of glue along this edge, and now I'm just going to put this paper on here, put it on a flat surface, and we'll glue those 2 sheets together, and I'll give that a few moments to dry. Once that's secure, then I'll add on my 3rd sheet. And then my table's not big enough. Okay, I got 3 sheets glued together. I had to add a TV table to expand the length of my table here, just so that it doesn't fall off the table by the weight. I'll let that dry, and once they're completely dry, the reason I did it on the surface is because I want to be able to press down just to make sure that they're glued together very well. Okay, the 3 sheets are glued together. Now I'm ready to staple it to my frame. What I want to do is center the paper on the frame on all sides before I start stapling. I start stapling in the very center. The paper is folded over, and now I'm going to turn the board around, and I'm stapling on that side now. You want it to be nice and tight across here. So pull the paper and then fold it and put a nice fold on the edge. We're going to work from the center out. After I get the center here done, then I'm going to do that end center and that end center. Then we'll work our way around so that we can have a nice tight surface to work on. I figured out it was easier to just flip it over and work on the back side. So I've got that end wrapped around and stapled, and the center of that end. Now we got to deal with the corners. The corners have extra paper on them, so it's like wrapping a Christmas present. So I just brought this side around, and then I just sort of fold it in like that, and I just need to staple that. This side had enough to fold over, but this side just had a tiny little edge. It's not enough, so I'm just going to trim it off with a razor blade so that it's flush with the back of the board. That way it will hang straight on the wall. Okay, the paper is secured to my frame. The frame allows me to suspend this board across my kitchen counter, which is the only place I've got big enough to stand it upright, and it's the only room that I have enough space for it, because the room is a fairly large room. I use my projector to put the image on the board, and this helps me to get the wording the right size. I had to keep backing up and backing up further to make my letters bigger, but that helps me to get it just right. And now that I got a nice firm surface, it's upright, it'll be easy for me to trace those letters. I have one problem. My fountain, this thing gets in the way, so I'll have to draw the L freehand, because I won't be able to see that with the shadow cast by the sink. Now the letters look a little bit pixelated because it's been made so much larger, but I just draw the smooth lines, and I can fix it when I'm painting it to make it even better. And that's how we get the letters on. I made a separate slide for the last two lines because I knew I wanted these letters a little bit smaller than the headline, the main theme. And these will also be done in a different color, probably red or blue. And the big letters up top will be done in black. So we got it all traced on there. Now I just got to antique the paper. My palette is a porcelain saucer. I used yellow ochre, burnt sienna, brown, and some black to give it that antique look. I'm working with watercolor paint. As I apply the colors, I try to make the outside edges darker and the center of the page lighter. The darker edges make the paper seem dirty and old. The lighter center will work well for the letters, helping the letters to stand out better. When you want the color lighter, just add a little more water to the mix, being careful to blend the colors with some soft edges. It's okay if it looks a little rough. I mean, this is going to be an old-looking piece of paper. This works really well for that old-fashioned theme that I'm going for. Rather than painting the letters, I decided to use permanent Sharpie markers because it would be faster, and if I decided to touch up the watercolor background, I won't have to worry about the black paint running. First, I outline the letters and then fill them in. The marker I am using has a chisel point, which works really well for calligraphy angles. My computer did not have this font, but I found a website that I could download several different calligraphy fonts. I used a red Sharpie marker for the smaller letters. Well, here it is. The banner is done. Well, unless I decide to add a little more detail on the paper to give the edges a little bit more roughed up, maybe some tears or rips or curled edges, I might consider that idea, but I could call it done. Now, the church was going to hire somebody, a professional, to print out large letters on a banner, and they would have paid $50. The paper costs $20, and I can make 3 banners out of it. So I've saved the church like $130 so far with 3 banners that I've done so far. This is my 3rd banner. So if somebody has some talent and they got the tools, you could save the church some money instead of buying the banners from the professionals. And can they do this? Can they do this type of font? And can they add the background color? Or is it just going to be letters on white, plain, staunch white? I wanted the antique look so that it has that old, aged look. And so I can use my artistic talents to do that, to give it that extra appearance. I did decide to go ahead and add some tears and missing pieces to make the edges look tattered and well worn with time. I used black and brown to do that. So here's the finished work. The church loved it so much, they did not want to take it down after the event was over. I'm happy that they enjoyed the banner. It added that old-fashioned look to our old-fashioned day. We had fun decorating with antiques, old books, crochet doilies, old lanterns, old-looking clocks, quilts, pictures and bowl set, and many of us dressed in old-time clothes. Some were Victorian, Some were farmers or Southern belles. I sewed myself a Victorian dress and designed a Victorian hat with lots of feathers. It was a great day. Please subscribe for more creative ideas.